Click the links. Odyssey, Bit Chute, Gab, Telegram, join channel. Become a very valued member. Make me very happy. Bianca, why would we join your channel when we can watch it for free? That is a good question. I don't have an answer to that. So, Lucasfilm and Star Wars Istophobicism Gambit fails. Obi-Wan Kenobi finale viewership worse than the Mando Season 2 and WandaVision. So Disney Plus is not doing too well. Disney Plus is starting to look like a graveyard. I got to admit, it's an unusual business model where you call the customers istophobic if they don't like a show, and then those they're not fans. I mean, some of them are fans, but really, it's like, let's keep it 100 here. You got to start thinking of these people as customers, and then they leave. They just go find something else. They're starting to look at Disney as a whole different entity. People had such high hopes when Lucas sold it because they were disappointed with the prequels, and now you look back and you're like, oh God, I wish we weren't so hard on George Lucas. We all owe him an apology. We'll pretend to love the prequels, which were, I don't know, mid-range shows are just okay, but like what Disney has done to it, oh my God, please sell it back to Lucas could probably buy it cheaper now if he wanted to, but the fans are not on board with this new woke Disney. But someone will, one of the actors, one of the useful idiots will post a Twitter post about some stunning and brave. They say they make these comments that, like, they get a bunch of hearts, get 300,000 hearts on a comment, and the comment's like, oh, bad people are bad and we should support the good people. It's like, yeah, no shit, dude. Just make good movies and stop being useful idiots. Some like people simping for billion-dollar corporations is it's really hard. Someone in the comments said the same thing. It's like, you're like someone's defending Disney. It's like, you're simping for this billion-dollar globalist propaganda machine just run by the worst people on earth, the people who are on the Epstein Island flight logs. Like, that's who you're defending. Why would you defend a billion-dollar Disney? And you think about it like, oh man, that's a good point. It's hashtag we value diversity. Yeah, I think you're being used. The thing is, Twitter likes and retweets and stuff, that doesn't result in more subscribers because hearting a tweet is free. When I look at this, I go, oh yeah, this doesn't really remind me of the original Star Wars, because the original Star Wars, it's a bunch of soldiers, everyone's on the same page. It all kind of made sense. Or I think they're British or something. It's like, that leadership was British. It just made sense. It all kind of like, that's what an army looked like, sort of thing. And I look at this and go, oh yeah, this doesn't really remind me of Star Wars. Oh, well, you're just istophobic, and we're transforming it to update it. It's like, so it's not Star Wars anymore. I mean, really, that's what it boils down to. You're not curative, you're transformative. So you've created something new, which means like you're kind of counting on all that goodwill to carry you through, so people get on board with these new and better stories. And then you've got some goodwill, but you burn it out, as you'll see in a minute. But then people look at these stories and they're like, yeah, but these aren't better stories. Oh, well, you're just istophobic. Yeah, you keep saying that, but it doesn't put butts in seats. Anyway, so what happened? Disney had the Mando, and this is coming off after the Disney trilogy. Yes, I don't know, made $2 billion, but if you look at everything in the totality of the circumstances, it should have made twice that. And then you look at the toy sales, which is a huge part of the movie-going experience for movies that are, geared to kids, and they were not what they should have been. Like, everything was on clearance almost instantly. And even there was some interview with a guy who makes high-end reproductions of like bronze, $1,000 statues of the characters in shows. And they were doing an interview with them, and they go, "Oh, so are you putting out like the new Disney trilogy? These high-end toys?" And he goes, "No, there hasn't been a demand for it. Like nobody's ordering a $2,000 ceramic." Character from the Disney trilogy, because there's just no excitement to it. Or you might order that for the Millennium Falcon for the original series, because the movies mattered to you. Yes, they were just stupid fun movies, but as Mike Miller Mike Miller is so hard. He's from Blacklist Universe. He's a brilliant artist, but he draws women's faces very well. So does EVS. I've noticed that both those guys are really good at drawing women's faces and bodies. Where's I going with that? He's so hard on Star Wars. It's like, yes, they were just dumb kids movies. I'm sure he saw them in the theater. But it's like doing something simple, but doing it really well. If you tell the story about the guy goes off to rescue the princess from the dragon, it's like, yeah, it's formulaic. You're telling the same story over, but are you telling it really, really well? That's what Lucas and his director on Empire Strikes Back. It was his ex-wife, his original first ex-wife. That's what he did with the original trilogy. He told us this simple, basic. I have the book on not Kurosawa, but the soldier's journey or something. I think it's Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth. I actually have the book sitting on my bookshelf. I'm going to have to crack that out and do a deep dive in it. That simple story, very, very well. You look at Disney, it's like, are you guys telling the simple story very, very well? No, you're just kind of repeating some cultural Marxist propaganda talking points that feels like in Russia where there's like, the revolution is fresh, they're calling everyone comrade and all this kind of nonsense and not tipping, and then after a few years they look around like, oh, this is just crap, everything is garbage, everything's like, we're not going to do this anymore. It's like, in 10 years you're going to look back at all this kind of stuff that's the current soup du jour fad of whatever it is, pronouns. You go like, oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore. That was just a temporary bit of insanity that went through America. You go, oh, it's kind of weird that we took it so seriously back in, I don't know, from 2015-ish to whenever it ends, 2025 maybe, or probably 2024, depending on who gets elected. But yeah, it's weird how we took that so seriously. Yeah, it's kind of like the adults left the building and nobody just said the emperor has no clothes. Anyway, even just looking at this image, I know Cara Dune's very popular, but like, this isn't Star Wars. This is, you got one dude in the back in an armor. It's like a bunch of chicks who are soldiers or warriors or something. Doesn't make sense because women have uteruses. That's the biological role assigned to them. This isn't Star Wars. This is just some woke Hollywood garbage. So, and I know the Gina Carano chick is ginormously popular. So what happened was Disney Plus had the Mando, which was fine. It was okay. But like I said, they're coming off that Disney trilogy, which was an underperformer. And then they came off the Solo movie, which was an actual bomb, which I think was the first bomb for Disney Star Wars. To come out with it, like, the Star Wars should be the goose that lays the golden egg, and all you had to do was improve on the prequels, and you actually made it worse with Abrams and Johnson. So they come out with the Mando, and it's kind of a minor, it's a soft hit, but then they fired Gina Carano, who had very reasonable normie milquetoast social media posts, but she didn't want to use pronouns or something. It's like, well, okay, allegedly that's your right. You should not compelled speech. Nobody supports compelled speech. And you look at the far left and you go, oh, actually they do. They do kind of support compelled speech, because it turns out you'd be fired if you don't use it. You'd be doxxed and your life destroyed if you don't believe in, lying to people. Anyway, she was popular. Partially half for the show and partially half for her social media presence, but like she didn't say anything to be fired for. The one piece that they keep posting to is she was kind of talking about like how people were alienating their neighbors and seeing their neighbors as the other in the World War II type of stuff. It's like that was a very reasonable interpretation of what happened throughout history. It's like, yeah, we're kind of seeing that happen today, where the right wing is being portrayed as the enemy. It's like the right wing just wants to go to church, have families, and just have clean, safe, quiet neighborhoods. Yeah, that's problematic now. That's crime and punishment now is a far right wing fascist position. Anyway, so they fired her for absolutely nothing because she wasn't a total Hollywood pussy. So people started tuning out at Disney Plus, and it sours. You burn through goodwill is what happens with Disney Plus. Then Disney got involved with Florida, the anti-grooming, libs of TikTok came in there, and then who's that? The reporter girl who's just insane works for Bezos, the Washington Post. I forget her name. She got involved with the lips of TikTok doxing her into this anti-grooming thing from Florida. It's like, yeah, just if you're a big corporation, just kind of stay out of it. And it's like, why would you get on board with that? So people are starting to look at Disney in a different light, and because it seems like, well, Disney kind of supports grooming, so it's not really a family-friendly company anymore. Like that, even on people who are hardcore Disney fans, and I know a family that is a hardcore Disney fan, they've awoken to that Disney has been completely subverted. Then they come out with a show with a bunch of purse puppies who are Mary Sue's, which makes a boring character. And then one of the Disney useful idiots, I forget his name, Ewan Gregor or something. Ewan Gregor. he calls the customers, the fans, istophobes for not wanting to see a Mary Sue, where, you know, the story is told on the first page. Because if you see a Mary Sue, a purse puppy, it's like, oh, they're a purse puppy, they're a Mary Sue. Oh, you don't know that. Well, I mean, yeah, I do, because the last 100 times I've seen it, it's followed this formula of she can do no wrong, she'll be perfect, and then if there's a fair male next to her, she will put him down to portray her as advanced. And then you look at like the original Disney Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy, and it's like, yeah, they didn't put the male characters down to advance Princess Leia. Like it was just three badass people who were fighting the bad guys. It's like they were all badass. And my God, even was it in Empire where Luke swings across the chasm, holding on to Princess Leia, and in the comic they rewrote that where, like, I don't know, she pushes him, or no, maybe she pushes him down the garbage dump scene or something. It's like, you're literally rewriting history to make yourself, to change the narrative, because you can't create something new. It's like, why don't you just tell the original story the way it was with new artwork, and then write something new, if you want to write something new with new characters, and put it out on the market. And if people want to buy it, they'll buy it. And as it turns out, nobody wants this new garbage, because it's just cancer. Anyway, so they come out with these purse puppy shows, and the Ewan Gregor guy goes out there and does this little video in his car. It's kind of casual. You know, this guy's sitting in his $150,000 Tesla or something, lecturing the little people, the Chad incels or whatever, about not wanting to see. How dare you not want to see a Mary Sue? How dare you want to see a good story with character development, like, you know, what you got on board the original Star Wars for, the original George Lucas Star Wars. So now people feel that this giant global homo corporate parasite is just completely mask off 100% cultural Marxism, which they absolutely are. Communists make really boring shows because it's the same plot every time. Blonde man bad and BLT Pox purse puppy good. So there's no suspension of disbelief. Then when the customer mentions this, they get attacked on social media for not valuing diversity. Well, why would we value diversity? How exactly does diversity make this story better? And I mean, just for a minute, wash off the knee-jerk political correct response that people tend to give, whether you're on the right or the left. You always you're filtering it through this political correct Weimar response that won't get you noticed. It's like, how do you fit in, just enough to fit into society without getting sent to the gulags? Without cultural Marxism, you know, pressuring us, why would diversity make a show better in and of itself? To me, it looks artificial, and it takes me out of the story. It makes me think Hollywood is just following some Soros, Schwab, Rothschilds approved script to get rid of the fair people, to substitute them for the darker people. But why would I want to see that? To me, diversity is just cancer that ruins a story. At least when it's done by heavy-handed commies. I could write a diverse story because it would be organic. They would just be characters, not chess pieces, which means they can't be purse puppies. When commies write Pox characters, they go way overboard. There's so many examples. I was going to say Vagrant Queen, but I mean, you can look at Star Wars, for example. It's like, yeah, people are not interested. Remember Lando from the original series? He wasn't perfect, but he redeemed himself in the end in Return of the Jedi. He had a good story arc in Empire. It's like, honestly, if I look back at that, if I could have redone it, I probably would have teased his character in the first movie to have like just a brief scene where he's on Cloud City doing something, partially so you could get residuals from that first movie, but also kind of to tease the character for just a brief scene where he's talking to somebody, and it's like, then in Empire you see him kind of act like a jerk, and then he kind of starts redeeming himself, and then in Return of the Jedi, like they do this incredibly risky move, and I know that wasn't a popular movie, but all those people can get stuffed. I thought it was cool. In Return of the Jedi, he flies through the Death Star with the Falcon. Or Revenge of the Jedi, which I actually have that t-shirt somebody gave me. If you remember Lucas's original title before one of his assistants or something corrected him and reminded him that Jedis don't really, like, they're above petty revenge. So calling it Revenge of the Jedi probably wouldn't fly. But if you have those, if there's any like original posters out there, they're probably worth a ton of money. The thing with George Lucas is he kind of sometimes forgets his own storylines. Like, he's a big picture guy, but you really got to have somebody else doing the fine tuning for you. Anyway, insulting the customer doesn't get the customer to stay and continue to be insulted. People aren't masochists. People by now, I think, are done with Star Wars because they're realizing that Disney killed it. They're never going to change. They are a globalist propaganda company now who are willing to die to push this Marxist narrative. It seems that some of the fan base, from the influential fan base, have decided to attack Moses, send her some of the most horrendous DMs, and I heard some of them this morning. It just broke my heart. Welcome to the internet, dude. You get called a bundle of sticks and told to die in a fire, like, every day. That's it. The bigger your social media presence gets, that's part and parcel of being in the internet. That's the wonderful diversity and multiculturalism of the internet. Ooh, that was a bunch of hot words put together. Not good. That's life on social media. That's life for actors, man. Like, you just wash that stuff off, or you don't even have to, like, imagine being a famous Hollywood actor and giving two shits that someone calls you some offensive language. I'm nobody, and I don't give two shits what people on the Bit Chute and Odyssey stuff says, or a Telegram. It's like, why would you care? You're getting paid to be, like, you have this stuff. All you have to be is really nice to the fans, like bend over backwards to respect the fans, and just like be the best actor you can. Do not have a stick up your ass and like a hair trigger temper. That is, I'm not talking about him, he's just a useful idiot, but that's like for actors everywhere. If you're going to go to cons, man, just be on your best behavior. And like, ultimately, if you do have a hair trigger, it's like, well, then just avoid social media. You don't need to be on social. And we got chased off social media. No, you didn't. Like, these people aren't like, they're not doing anything real. They're not. If somebody's stalking you with the 308, that's something real. This is social media. This is Twitter. Like, people called you, epithets on social media. That doesn't hurt you. You just keep cashing those checks and making great movies people enjoy. It's like you focus on the positive fan base and you absolutely ignore the negative stuff. It's insane that Hollywood doesn't know that. It's such an obvious conclusion. Anyway, the thing is, Disney is too far gone. They're not simply going to make fun films anymore, because that would take a different board of directors, the CEO and the management team of Disney itself, and then you'd have to replace all the Star Wars division, all those people who are doing that branch of Disney that's, tied into the parks, the movies, the shows, Disney Plus. There's a lot of people that you'd have to get rid of, like essentially the top of the company. So who's going to get rid of them? That it would have to be coming from the stockholders themselves, would have to buy up a controlling interest or something, plurality or something like that. You'd have to replace all those people. That's probably not going to happen unless an outside force comes in. So that is what Disney is now, that they don't care about the money involved. Globalism is a religion to them. They will burn the company to ashes before they change, because the top of that pyramid are insulated by wealth. They don't need to worry about it. They can burn this company down and just go into something else or just retire. They don't care. It's a religion. It's not a business to increase shareholder value. And, the actors are out of touch, but the board and CEO are absolutely acting with intent. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.